My name is AntonioMelendez, and this is my week 5 project. I worked on this as a team with Group 16. You can see here in my Visual Studio window that it says Group 16 in the top. And I want to show my database here so you can see that everything is connected and my Mongo databases are working correctly. Okay. We can also see a .env file, the node modules, and the gitignore file, which tells us that all the sensitive information is hidden. Okay, now we go to render, and on this render link you can see that this is a published link. It is not localhost, and for this week we decided to work on newsletters and comments collections or databases. We're going to test them out and see how they work. First, the newsletters. We execute for get all, and we can see that we have here a couple newsletters. Okay, and we clear. Now let's create one with the post. Just really quickly, if I put something like this, for example, and I execute, it's gonna show me an error. Okay, it says error 400. Please provide a full name and please enter a valid email address. So we can see that error handling and validation are working for these. Okay, let's now make a real one, a real post. Let's say, for example, Peter. And in email, let's put Peter at gmail.com. Okay, we execute and we see that this is working correctly. Okay, if we go back to the get all, we're going to see the Peter at the bottom. We see here. Okay, I'm going to copy this ID. We clear this and let's go to get single to see if this is also working. Now for this, I'm going to erase this ID, put in the new one, and I'm going to erase this one. Okay, and then I execute, and we can see that we get an error that says please enter a valid ID with a string of 24 characters. This was a 1, I think. Now if I erase this 6 here and I put something like a 7 and I execute, I also get an error that says no newsletter subscriber found with entered ID. Okay, and finally, if we put the correct ID, we can see that this works. Okay, there's our Peter newsletter. Okay, so that's working. Now let's update this. Okay, try it out. And again, I tried to make it here. Let me erase some of these here to execute, and we're going to get some errors. Really quickly, please provide a full name. So we don't have a full name. Please provide a valid email address. Okay. So now let's put, for example, a name like Peter Parker. That's going to be the update. Okay, we added a last name, and the email is going to be different. Parker now at gmail.com. So now we execute and we get an error because the ID is not correct. So please enter a valid ID. Okay, let me erase this ID and put in the correct ID. I'm going to also change here to an 8 and execute, and we get the newsletter subscriber doesn't exist. Okay, not with this ID. So let's change this back to a 6 and execute, and we see that this is working. Okay, we can see newsletter subscriber has been updated successfully. Now let's go back to our get all and execute so we can see the change in our database. And we can see right here Peter Parker and the new email. Okay, Now finally, let's test the delete. Here in delete, if I don't have the complete ID, it's gonna show me an error, okay? And once again, if I put here something different, like a 9, and I execute, it's gonna show me a different error, a different message that says that this ID does not exist, okay? So I put in a 6 and I execute, and we can see that the newsletter subscriber has been deleted. Let's quickly check in our get all, and we can see that our database is working. We can see that Peter Parker is not there anymore. Okay, very good. So that was the newsletter. Now we're gonna go to the comments, and once again we execute the comments so we can see that they're working. You can see this collection has more fields. Okay, next week we're gonna add 2 more collections or 2 more databases. Okay, let's make a new one. And just like last time, I'm going to put I'm gonna put here incorrect fields so that we can see the validation. And we can see here the messages that say, please provide a full name. Please enter a valid username with at least 5 characters. Please enter a valid email address. And the comment with at least 15 characters. Okay? So now let's make a correct comment from Peter. Username, I'm going to put Peter Parker, with email peter@gmail.com, and our comment has to be something like, I am not Spider-Man and I don't know who he is. All right, something like this. We execute and we can see that this is working. Okay, let's go to our get all so that we can see that it shows up in our collection, in our database, and we can see here that we have it here. I'm going to copy the ID so I can show the rest of the stuff. Let's go to get single. Here in our get single, I put in the ID, erase that number 2, execute, and I get an error. Okay. If I erase the 6, put a 7 in, I get a different message that says that this ID does not exist. But if I put the 6 and the correct ID, then I get my single. Okay. All right. Now we're going to update. All right. In our put, we put in the correct ID. I erase my 2 there. I erased here okay, there it is. So let's execute so we can see validation working, and we can see these messages here that says provide a full name, a valid username with at least 5 characters, a valid email address, and a comment with at least 15 characters. So now let's make a correct username, and now we're going to put Peter, and for the username we're going to have Peter Porker. The email is going to be porker@gmail.com, something different so we can see the update, and something like, I am the real Spider-Man, not Peter Parker, something like this. All right, let's execute, and we can see that we get a message, an error message that says that the ID is invalid because it doesn't have 24 characters, and that's because I erased the character here. Let's put in the correct ID, but let's change it a little bit, and we can see a different error that says no comment with that ID. Okay, so I cannot update it. Let's change this back to the correct ID, and now we can see that it's working. Okay, we see that the comment has been updated successfully. If we go to our get all and execute, we're going to see at the bottom the Peter Porker username, the name Peter, and the comment, I am the real Spider-Man, not Peter Parker. Okay, so that's working correctly. And finally, let's check the deletion. We put in the ID, erase one character, and we get an error message. Let's put a different ID and execute, and we get a different message that says the ID does not exist. But if we put in the correct ID, then the comment will be deleted. The comment has been deleted successfully. If we go back and check the get all, we're going to see that our comment at the bottom is not there anymore. Okay, and this is also working in the database. I don't have a way to show the database because we're using one of my friends in the group's database, and he's got his own password and stuff. But everything is working correctly. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you very much and have a wonderful week.